knows how many national forests there are in the country?
Very, very good answer. Good answer.
Take a guess. There's 155 national forests. And there are how many grasslands? 20. 20 national grasslands. And these are all administered by the Forest Service, not the Park Service. We want to make sure you understand we're not talking about national parks here or national monuments. We're talking about national forests and national grasslands. We have personally researched 2,400 developed campgrounds. In other words, we go into the campground, we walk the campground, or depending on its size, we will drive. But we have done 2,400 developed campgrounds. When we first started, I told Suzi, I said, well, we can do 10, 15 a day, and we'll get this project over within 5 years. In 1994, we wanted to go to a place called Abingdon.
In Virginia.
Abingdon in Virginia. And there was a Scottish festival going on at the time. Both of us were working in Washington, D.C., and we found out about the festival too late. So I asked one of my office mates if they knew about any place to stay, and they said, well, yeah, there's a campground. You can stay there. Turns out it was a campground in the Jefferson National Forest in Virginia. And in the meantime, Suzi had done she was working on her master's from George Mason University in Virginia, and she was familiar with the Library of Congress. So she went to the Library of Congress to see if there were any references on camping. And it turns out, or national forests, I should say. And there was literally nothing. It was on timber, on watershed management, soil management, that kind of stuff, but very little. So on our way back, I was going to retire I was working with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in D.C. And on our way back, we said, gee, we could do some research here, and this is an information vacuum. We could provide this information. So we went to the Forest Service in D.C. They liked the idea. They had absolutely nothing up there about forests or about recreation. So they loved the idea, and eventually we got what's called a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with the Forest Service, and they loved it. So, but they didn't pay us. We want to take pictures. We have taken there are over 7,000 pictures on our website right now of national forest campgrounds, the surrounding areas, and so forth. So you can get a good visual besides our written explanation.
Now, there are over 150 campgrounds that we've surveyed in this region. I'm not going to talk about each and every one of them. I'm going to do kind of a broad brush. I will mention all of the forests and all the grasslands, and some of my favorite campgrounds, and some of my favorite hikes, but not all of them. So let's go camping. We found this truck in an abandoned homestead, and it just made me think of, lost dreams, the worst of best times or something. It was so poignant. Now, Kiowa National Grassland is all in New Mexico. And I think it's my favorite grassland. Why? Because there's something more to it than just rolling grass. This is the road leading to the Rims Campground. It's on top of Mills Canyon. Mills Canyon is this in here. Hills, roads dropping down. Now, wait till you see the canyon. This is Mills Canyon. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the red rocks. Here's the Canadian River that carved the canyon. There's a tributary leading down. This is the Red River. Being an East Coast girl, I always chuckle when we Westerners refer to these things as rivers. Where I come from, that's a creek. That's not much of a river. To them, it's a river. And it's a fishable river, too, which really blows my mind. Along Red River, there are 4 campgrounds. There's the Columbine, which I'm told by the locals has the best hiking. There's Elephant Rock, which had the elk. There's Fawn Lake, which has a couple of fishing ponds, perfect for taking young ones that are just starting out, fishing, teaching them how to cast and all. And then there's Junebug, which I think has the best secluded tent sites. My husband refers to them as the honeymoon sites. One thing that's different about national parks and national forests is you're going to find these towns in a national forest. You don't find towns like this in national parks. Now the cool thing is, like Red River, it had a grocery store, gas station, all of that stuff that you're looking for. It had a ski mountain, so on the weekends you could go to the top, take the gondola up to the top. Great. When we were there, they had a quilt and craft show, which is kind of my thing. And they've got enough restaurants that Fred got to cook a lot. The Santa Fe has some gorgeous big W, capital W wildernesses, like the Pecos here. I mean, rugged, gorgeous, no automobiles, no bicycles, nothing mechanized is allowed in there. So you're going to get a true natural experience. This is Jack's Creek. And a cool thing about Jack's Creek is going to Jack's Creek, you're going to pass by a campground called Holy Ghost. Holy Ghost is the only campground I know of that's haunted, reportedly, by some old Spanish padres that decided they wouldn't leave with the Spanish army. Now we're going to go to the southeast corner in the Lincoln. Did you know Lincoln was the birthplace, the original home of Smokey Bear? It was. It was a cub caught in a fire, rescued, and he was nursed back to health by a ranger's family and became the Forest Service mascot. Now it has gorgeous trails. And 200 miles of trails, and I think every trail has a vista like this. This is the Grand View Trail. We weren't even at the top of the trail. This was just alongside the trail. So you can see here, this white cloud, that's the dust from White Sands National Monument. Okay? Now the history at the Lincoln goes back about 4,000 years. There's a place called Three Rivers Petroglyphs. And this is just one of the petroglyphs that's there. It's a mound of rocks, probably about size of 6 school buses. And every rock, I think, has at least one petroglyph on it. Coronado. I'm sure you all know about the Coronado. You probably recognize the Coronado, the scenic byway up to Mount Lemmon. Yeah? Yep. This is a trail down where I live, down near Bisbee. It's called the Hunter Canyon Trail. I call it a lung buster because it's like this. But you get some great views down into the valley. Here's one that's more like Fred likes, this level, at Council Rock. It winds around here, around the rock, and out, and it ends up in a box canyon. Well, it's a box canyon because I don't know the way out. But this is a trail that was probably used by Cochise and his band when they came in to Council Rock to negotiate with the U.S. Army for peace. It's an awesome place. If you get down, it's near Tombstone off of Middlemarch. It's a cool place. And one of the reasons it's so cool is because the rocks at Council Rock have these pictographs. I don't know if you can see them too well, but it's the red marking there. They're considered to be about 1,000 years old. More recent history can be found at the Wet Canyon Campground. This is a CCC-built bridge. Notice the beautiful stonework here. And it's at Whetstone.
We have created this website. We first created it back in 1994. And now we're getting up to 550,000 hits a day. And up to 8,352 unique visitors, which is pretty good for a mom and pop operation. I'm not going to get into the website. That's a whole nother session. But we do have 50 fields of data per campground that explain. We do not rate the campgrounds. We try to provide enough information so that you can decide whether that's the experience you want or not. Now, we're doing a major update to the website. Many of you have asked about the ability to send us information. In fact, we get it through email. We get up to 200 emails a week, and we answer them all. But this would be much better for everybody. So we're working on this. You can see the update, and you can see a brief how the description is in our campgrounds, and a review.